Welcome to the Clicks and Giggles podcast. Jordan Rockwell Perry here. Today, I want to talk about something that may not be as fun or sexy in the summer, but now's the time to do it, and that is planning. So, I just held a event called Clickmas in July. It was so fun for those who came, and honestly started out as a call to meet, get ahead, look at what Q4 has to offer, and then also realize, wait, I want to take time off in December and in November. So what does it look like to do that, to plan and be ready with my marketing? And it's funny, as we started talking about things, and one of my slides says, are your emails written? And they were like, and I just laughed, and they were like, what? And it just made so many things clear to me. Like, I am in my zone of genius. Therefore, I'm like, yeah, are your emails written for Q4? Are you planning ahead? And then I had to put myself in their shoes where I'm like, okay, y'all are serving people so well. And sometimes marketing is the last thing you think of, but then it really is important because you need to market to get the word out. So it turned into this awesome planning session. And it was less of, how do I say this? Looking through what have you planned and how can we audit it and how can we make it better, to more of like, here's how you plan. And so after that, I was like, ooh, I have to come on the podcast and do an episode about this. So here we go. This is going to be a crash course in campaign planning. So the first thing I want you to think about when you're planning a campaign is the date. So beyond anything, you think about the date and when you are announcing something, and really there's two dates you're looking at. So you're looking at the date of what I want to call your launch event, which a launch event is truly like a webinar, a workshop, a live call they can come to, the day you announce a new freebie, free guide, and put it into the world. It doesn't have to be this huge launch or thing. So the first is the date of your launch event. And here's what we're looking for. We're like, okay, is it a holiday? What is the weekend like before? Like for my clients, we're never launching on like Labor Day. We're not launching on 4th of July. And really, after like December 15th-ish, or the date, the cutoff to ship, we're really not launching anything during the holidays unless you're doing a Black Friday promotion. So all that to say, so it's the date it's going to be announced and the thing goes into the world, or the meeting happens, the launch event, your workshop, your webinar. Next is going to be the second date, is when you are closing cart, if you are closing your cart. So what that means is, if you're planning a new offer, the question you ask yourself, is it going to be open and people can get in it whenever? Or is it going to be closed and you will have different times it's open that they can get in? So there's fitness programs that have certain days they start rounds. Client of mine has a round starting today. Love that. It builds excitement. When's the next round? Then I also have clients who let people in all the time. And it's like, hey, I'm ready to make that change today. Or, hey, I really want to get started with this today. Great, it's open. So if you are going to close cart, I need you to pick dates that you can be present as cart is closing. So say you are going to launch something on the 10th of September and the cart closes on the 20th. I need to know that you are present and around the 7th, 18th, 19th, 20th to really push hard organically. If you're doing paid ads, obviously they're doing some of the lifting for you. But are people going to be DMing you? Yes. Are you going to be doing question boxes where they're going to be submitting questions or different objections that are holding them back? Yes. So I need you to be able to be present too during that time. So if it's like, hey, the cart closes Monday, Sunday's my child's birthday, you have to decide, do you want to risk feeling a little distracted during that time? If the answer is yes, and you're like, hey, their party's Saturday from 12 to 3, obviously you can still launch and close cart on a Monday with that. But if you're like, hey, you know what? I really want to enjoy their birthday weekend, enjoy family time, just don't close cart during that time. So that's why picking the date matters so much, in addition to obviously how you're going to promote it, what you're going to do, etc. But really pull that calendar up And don't just look at the week of the launch, look at the week before and the week after. And once you pick a date, I want you to put time to celebrate and unwind after. It's so important after you close cart on something or after you stop a big push to pause. I want you to put two things on your calendar. I want you to put time to reflect and regroup. And then I want you to put time to rest because you need to, while it's fresh in your mind, like Monday morning quarterback and be like, what did I enjoy? What would I do again? What would I not do again? What would I do differently? Whose help do I need next time? Or where did I get stuck? And then you can call in and book a appointment, book a call with someone who can help you in that regard. If you're like, oh, I thought I was going to get 10% returning clients or 20% and I didn't, well, let's talk about sending a survey out. Hey, why didn't you buy? Why weren't you there? Or if you were like, oh my gosh, the dates were perfect. I just wish that I would have sent a replay out and let them have X amount of time to look at it. I had one client who sent the replay and we were trying to close cart and people were like, hey, I'm watching the replay tomorrow. Can I still get in after? And they just hadn't had enough time to digest it. And so that's something that you Monday morning quarterback and you're like, oh, dang. Okay. Yeah, let's leave some time for that and regroup on it. So I want you to reflect and regroup after the week after. And then I also want you to schedule in rest time so that you can get back at it and it not have knocked the wind/life out of you. So just to recap what we talked about so far, picking the date is so important, but so are the dates around it. So when are you going to close cart if you're closing? When are you opening cart? What does that event look like? So start there with the dates. What's around it? And what's your capacity? And then reflect and regroup after, and then rest. I want you to come back re-energized into your business. And sometimes you may need to like reflect and regroup right after, rest, and then go back to those notes and be like, okay, I was tired or cranky or like feeling very critical of myself. It actually went really well, but I would change this and this. So be cognizant of that. I'd almost reflect, rest, and then regroup on your reflection. So I would say that. But once you have this kind of plan in place on the calendar, I would then go to the next step, which is the actual planning time, carving out time to plan what do I need in order to launch this into the world. So I am going to very publicly talk about what I'm launching next so that I can show you live in action how we're planning and how we'll execute this. So you've picked the dates, you've reflected, you put time to reflect, regroup, rest, all this stuff is knocked out, the dates on your calendar. Then this is why this planning matters. And just something I'm like, my new hill to die on is do not plan and execute at the same time. This is like a sidebar, but very similar, had a call with a client who's coming on this week. And he told me, we do not make a decision on a call that we brainstorm it on. So he's like, we always get off the call and after we brainstorm, then he will come to his team and say, okay, this is the decision. So it allows you to be free in your brainstorming and your scheming and planning. And then you're like, all right, this is the decision. So what I want you to do is brainstorm, what could this event be? What is my webinar? What is the title? What's the messaging? What's the outcome for them? And then I'm selling them into X down the road. So that's like that brainstorm and you decide, you noodle on it, sleep on it, and you're like, all right, this is the decision. This is what we're doing. And then from there, I want you to do the planning first. So if you have some creative ideas in your head, I would start a Google Doc. We're going to get really tactical here. I'd start a Google Doc. So for us, I'm looking at the calendar and I'm like, oh my gosh, when am I launching this? Okay. So say I am going to launch something, let's just say August 22nd. So I will look back on the calendar a couple weeks and I'm like, okay, 1, 2, 3, that's 3 weeks from Thursday. So then I get really tactical and I'm like, what do I need between now and then? Easy question to ask. Harder question probably to answer, right? So and these dates may not actually be accurate for what I'm doing, but just for the principle. of it. So if you're like, okay, I have X amount of weeks, what am I going to do in order to get this done? So what I wanted to encourage people who think they have to have it done, planned, and perfect to get it out into the world, you really don't. Here's what you need in order to start promoting. You need a landing page, a thank you page, if they're purchasing, including the purchase in that process, whether you're embedding Thrivecart, are you using Flowdesk checkout, are you using Kajabi checkout, etc. And then you need the welcome email, the yay, you're in email. And then you can literally put it out into the world. I want to encourage you if you're like, oh my gosh, I have to write these emails and do these reels and social posts. If you're going to have a webinar, workshop, challenge, etc., get those pages together, get the first impression right after someone buys, what happens, lock that in, and then you can start promoting and then go back to this plan and execution strategy I have for you, which is this. Get a Google Doc, put the links in there, make it so organized, like landing page URL, thank you page URL, and then write what you need in order to make this a good campaign. So say you're going to tell 3 client stories. Go find those client stories, baby. So in order to write them, you have to find them. And then you also are like, okay, I want to do 5 screenshots, very like raw, authentic, real. Okay, I need to go in my camera roll and find those 5 screenshots. So you put down like, what are my needs? So I need 3 client stories. I need 5 screenshots. I need 2 reminder emails. I need a welcome email once they sign up. And then I want to send 6 promotional emails. And so you write that out and you're like, all right, this is what I need. And then, of course, there's still the social aspect of promoting it too, right? So this is talking about your list, but you're like, I want to do 3 feed posts, 3 reels, and a carousel, whatever it is. So write it all out and then figure out the dates of when those are going out. So this is like, we are planning. We are not being creative. I believe it is too hard for your brain to switch back and forth from planning to creative mode. And so let's just go hardcore into the planning mode first and just feel really good about what you have to get done. And so I would block off like 45 to 90 minutes to do this. Coach Amber B, who I love, has trademarked polls. And so what that means is you find something you like to pair it with something you don't. I'm not doing the explanation justice. Anyways, what you would do is say, I am going to go to a coffee shop for 90 minutes. The first 15 minutes, I'm going to enjoy my latte. I'm going to button up my inbox. I'm going to put my headphones in, put a good playlist on, and then we're going to figure out what it takes to get this done. And so then you will go into the planning. You will pick the dates. When am I reflecting, regrouping, resting? Okay, here's what I know. This is what's going down. I may not even know what the title is yet, but I know what it's going to take to get this out into the world. So let's plan it out. So then if you are going to have to create 9 emails, which if you haven't even done this before or not in a while, you may have to put them all in one centralized doc, because then you can just duplicate and reuse it and tweak it down the road. Like, you don't have to do this from scratch every time. I hope you're encouraged with that. So what you would do then is you would go email 1 right after they book or pay or you're in, yay. And then you would put in the subject line and you would put in, who does this go to? And so it would go to like purchasers or registrants only. And then you would go email 2. Okay, this is going to be the announcement email to my list. Hey, mark your calendar for August 22nd. We have something really exciting happening. And then you would put any information you might need. Perfect. On to, who gets that? The whole list. Great. The whole list minus clients. I don't know. Do you want your current clients going? Maybe you do. Then I'd go to email 3. I would just make it just tactical. Like, you're going to need a reminder email. So reminder email 1, 24 hours before. Great. Reminder email 2, an hour before. Maybe you want another reminder email that's 5 minutes before. Go grab your cup of coffee. It's almost time. And so you plug those in there, and then you know what you have to get done. it makes it less daunting than sitting in front of this blank Google sheet that's just flashing at you, right? Like, oh my gosh, what's next? And so do that planning time then. And now, if you are like, you get it all planned out and you have those ideas for the posts you'll do, what emails you need to write, etc. This is when, if you have a team, you can then outsource it to the team and say, hey, can you please have these emails done by this date? Or hey, yada, yada, all this good stuff. And if you have to write them, that is when during this planning time, I would put when you are going to do that and when they're going to be done by. And so a lot of people recommend like time blocking and just schedule a half day and knock it out. And it's, if this is not your zone of genius and you are just doing this right now, bootstrapped because you have to until you get to the next level where you're like, okay, I can outsource this. A half day is a long time to do all this. I would honestly block it into 45-minute chunks of time or hour chunks of time to make it less daunting. And so you could put on your calendar for that week, like emails 1 through 4 in a 45-minute block. And then another day could be 5 through 9. And then another block could be like social content for the month. And that way you're not like, oh my gosh, Friday, I have a half day of doing all this. It's very much, oh, perfect. I'm just knocking off emails 1 through 4. I'm doing this, doing that. And the good news is because you took this time to plan, it's not going to be as hard. Like you'll go in there and be like, oh, thank you, past me, for doing this. This is the first email they're going to get that's a client story. Perfect. I was already going to tell the story of working with Jennifer and her fashion business. Let me just add this in here. I just want to encourage you that it does not have to be this complicated. In fact, one of my sweet clients who was on the call this past week was like, oh my gosh, I've just been overcomplicating it. I'm like, yes, we all have. And this is just such an easy way to simplify it. So then once you've done that planning and you have that doc and you have those dates on the calendar, then you're just holding yourself accountable to do it. So it's like, and try different times. It's like people talk about, oh, I'm a morning workout person or I'm an evening workout person, or as a Christian believer, like, oh, I only do my quiet time in the morning, or whatever it is. And it's like different things work for different people. Like all these people getting up at 5 a.m., like 4:35, 5 a.m. club. Like I am not a morning person. I can crank out such good work in the evening and like wild work. And imagine if I was like, oh, nope, you can only do this at this time. Like, no, give yourself the permission and freedom. Like, if you are someone who's good at getting work done at night and you're like, you know what, I'm going to try when I'm really creative and flow to write these emails one night, to write 4 of them. Do that. Try it at different times and give yourself permission to experiment because, and as I've said on previous podcasts, I don't know if it was Myron Golden who said it or who said it before him, but just the mentality of it's a guess until you test, like same thing with how you work and get work done. So just want to encourage you that after you've planned, then you're going to put on your calendar when you are getting these done. And then once the emails are done, I want you to have someone else look at them because there's nothing like an extra set of eyes. Just looking at everything. Hey, what do you think of this? Hey, can you test this link? All this good stuff. And then freaking schedule them. I do not schedule my own emails. I love Flowdesk, love Kajabi, but I would get lost in the sauce for way too long. So I have an awesome person on my team who does that. So I give them the Google Doc with everything. And I'm like, hey, can you please put this in Flowdesk? Here's the subject line. Here's all this. Can you add some fun GIFs to it? Make it fun and exciting. They do it. I go in, just to give you an idea for a process you could use. I go in, I look at every email, I schedule them to send, and I have the final look through of, okay, good, this is going to the right list. Okay, these are scheduled, all that good stuff. And then what I would do, so you don't have a jump scare when emails go out, if you're not around to reply or something comes up, is put on your calendar when they're going out. I remember I was in Rosemary Beach recently with Lauren Mattingly and her team and loved her to death. And it was such a good time. And like, what a gift for a client to treat me to that. And in between working, we went out to dinner one night and we ran into the fabulous duo, Angie and Gina, who I've also worked with. They're great. And as we were standing there, I forget if it was Angie or Gina. I think it was Gina was like, "Oh my gosh, I just got your email." And I had scheduled an email and I was like, "You got my email?" And I truly thought I had been like hacked or something. And had I put that on my calendar, I would have known like, "Oh, you scheduled an email to go out today." So that is just something I like to do in case people are responding so I can know like, "Hey, you have an email going out today. You may just want to be ready in the inbox." Because in this season of life, I manage my inbox. I hold it very tightly. Maybe one day I will loosen the reins again. So put it on the calendar when things are going out, because then and can be like, "Oh, I have an email going out Thursday, but nothing Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I'm going to do a reel on Tuesday." Like it will help you plan out the content so much. So then once you have everything locked and loaded, it's just all about giving yourself permission to relax and then refining it. Because after, when you're regrouping, you'll be like, "Oh, this email did really well." Or, "Oh my gosh, the subject line killed it because all these people opened." And so I just want you to also be reminded in this that this is trial and error. Like I wish, and when people are like, "Steal my strategies that have made me $21 million" or whatever, it's like, yes. And that worked for them and their audience. So there's nothing wrong with looking at that and gaining inspiration, but you have to find out what works for you and your business and your audience and people on your email list, and really know that yes, you can gain inspiration from others, but until you put the pedal to the metal, you're not going to know what works for you and for your prospects, your sales prospects. So I hope this has been helpful. Let me know if you're planning anything in the future. Just my biggest thing really is like separating planning from execution so that your brain can just stay creative and stay in the zone and in flow versus like the tactical of like, "All right, let's get this done." And really, this has been fun because it's something we did in Clickmas in July, but then it's also something that we are going to be doing more of in my program, Clicks That Count. So in Clicks That Count, it's marketing, funnels, ads, like everything you need to market your business. So if you have any questions about that, or want to learn more about a safe space for you to go and grow your business, that I would love, love, love for you to message me on Instagram and we can talk about it. But that is all I have for today. I'm super excited that you now have this new tactical way of campaign planning. And if you have any questions as it comes up, let me know. I hope to see you in the future and Clicks That Count. And I'm excited to see what you do with this new kind of framework to plan. Have a good day.